somebody chooses to take a different course and remove themselves, disassociated, that's a matter for them. But victims of child sexual abuse are not shunned. There's no evidence.
Unless they disassociate, then they are. That's the point.
Well, but again, what you're suggesting there is that the congregation makes a decision to shun a victim. If a victim or a survivor makes that decision themselves, then they understand the implications. There's not a situation where someone has disassociated because they're a victim of child sexual abuse, but we just wanted to make that point again.
I think the real issue is that for some people the circumstances will be such that they just can't stay and they will find it necessary for their own survival, effectively, to disassociate. But the consequence of that is they are shunned and lose all of their prior social structure. That's the issue. And you heard the evidence that some people gave about that issue. That's the problem.
If I could, Your Honour, with respect...
That doesn't happen in other parts of society, generally.
Again, Your Honour, with respect, and I certainly don't want to be protesting a point...
Say what you believe to be true.
Thank you for that. The Commission has consistently, and we respect the right of the Commission to draw the conclusions and Council assisting, but the Commission has consistently failed to acknowledge that individuals who want to leave the organisation of Jehovah's Witnesses, no longer be an active member, can do that by conflating someone choosing to no longer be an active member and someone specifically disassociating themselves, saying, I just don't agree with the organisation anymore, I don't want to be a part of it, are two totally separate things. And again, with respect, we just make the point
that was inherent in what I just put to you, but the consequence of dissociation, as we understand it, is that that person will be shunned, and that means they lose contact with family, friends and everyone else who remains inside the Jehovah's Witness organisation. Is that right?
Again, Your Honour, the person...
Your colleague is nodding. Is that right or not?
Well, because you've said disassociated, Your Honour, but he or she can choose to be no longer an active member of the congregation.
I understand that, but if they are so unable to cope with what's happened and the way they've been treated inside the organisation that they dissociate, then they lose all of their previous social structure. Is that right?
That could be the case, and we respect their right to make that decision.
Well, it's a pretty cruel way of dealing with someone, isn't it, who has suffered sexual abuse.
I could only repeat what I've said, Your Honour.
I know, but it's cruel, isn't it? To take away, by reason of the rules that you impose, all of their social structure. That's cruel.
Could I just interrupt, Your Honour? I believe with the difference between disfellowshipping and disassociation, the congregation takes the action in disfellowshipping somebody who is then shunned. The person who disassociates himself, they're taking the action. Now, for whatever reason, I agree, not even with regards to being a victim, others make the same decision. But they are actually taking the stand to shun the congregation from themselves. And they understand the implications of that. Now, it is, I agree, it puts them in a difficult situation, but it is a choice.
You see, someone who comes to you and says, I was sexually abused, but because there's no two witnesses, you don't accept it. You don't make that finding. They're left in a very difficult position, aren't they?
If they choose not to report it to the authorities, then...
For whatever reason, if the organisation doesn't acknowledge that they were abused, that imposes a great burden on them, doesn't it?
If I could again respectfully say, Your Honour, we don't disbelieve a person who makes an accusation. That's why we investigate every accusation brought forth by the elders.
Yes, but if there's not two witnesses, you don't accept it, do you?
Because scripturally we're not able to.
I know. And that, you would understand, can be very, very distressing for someone who has come to you with that complaint, can't it?
Certainly. Not being a victim is very distressing. Whatever consequences come, yeah, we agree.
And that can lead to a chain of circumstances where that person feels unable to do other than dissociate from your organisation.
Could I respectfully, Your Honour, say we don't want to be defensive and we acknowledge that disassociation or disfellowshipping certainly have implications. An individual can choose to be inactive. Could I use very briefly a parallel that in my careful reading of the issue papers from the Commission, and some of it I don't understand, most of it I have, it's been very well put together, and the summaries. One reference said that only reporting is low across the community. One study that's not suggesting the Commission validated it, but it was just referenced. One study in this country suggested that only 10% of child abuse allegations, and I believe it was in New South Wales, but I'll be corrected on that, lead to a conviction, and only around half of those lead to a custodial sentence. I mention that simply to say that if on an occasion a victim of child abuse has felt that where Jehovah's Witnesses have taken a Bible-based stand, my heart also goes out to the thousands of victims who've come forward and asked for help. It's not resulted in a conviction, or if it has, only half of those result in a custodial sentence. So I just put it in the context that we are extremely aware of the damage that is done where the victim, it's compounded by the action that we, the police or the courts take, and in that context we absolutely agree with you.
I understand what you say, but can I just ask you this simple question? Why is it necessary when someone feels that they can no longer abide the organisation and has to dissociate, why is it necessary to shun them? Why can't they keep having social contact with those people who happen to remain in the organisation?
Well, I'd say again, and we're going to appear very repetitive, I apologise, Your Honour, but the individual can choose.
No, why is it necessary for the organisation to tell all of its adherents, you must shun that person?
Because the individual has not taken the decision to no longer associate or to no longer be involved with congregation activities, which is their right. They've taken the decision to say, I'm shunning the congregation, I'm no longer a part of the congregation, I put it in writing. So the individual takes that action, and we understand the implications. When someone is disfellowshipped, the congregation takes that action. So the individual does not need to put themselves in a position where they're shunned. They can walk away, they can go to another congregation. That's their personal choice. But we understand and agree with the point you're making, Your Honour.
Well, you haven't answered the point, but we'll move on.
Answer the question, Mr. Spence. You have not answered his honest question. His honest question is, why is it necessary to shun a person who disassociates? And before you answer, let me clarify one thing. The person who disassociates, both you and Mr. O'Brien have now said it, you said that they shun the organisation. They don't necessarily at all. They're talking about someone who just doesn't want to be part of it anymore. They still want to have their friends, their family, and everything else, their social network. So accept that kind of person, but it disassociates. Now, why is it necessary to have a policy that everyone else must now shun them?
Again, that's a decision the person makes, because that individual...
Thinks that is not...
Mr. Stewart, I don't think we're going to get anywhere. I think we should...
Well, the real answer to the question is because you say the Bible says so. That's the answer, isn't it?
Yes, that's our understanding of the scriptural disfellowshipping and disassociation doctrine.
I should just say also that in relation to the point that Mr. O'Brien, you made, and Mr. Spinks as well, I think, and that's that a person can become inactive without disassociating and in that way not be shunned. Now, without going through that evidence again, I just want to say to you that that's highly contested by a lot of people. as to whether that is possible. I know you say that's the case. A lot of other people say it isn't.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood, but
The simple point is, and I'll let you respond, but I'm not going to go down this path we went down it before. The simple point is this: a person who does not want to be active in the organisation anymore, in order to avoid being shunned, must disassociate. There isn't a category of membership of inactive and nevertheless welcome.
Sorry, Mr. Stewart, that's...
I know you disagree. That's
Well,
fine.
when we've put it in print, I mean,
The only point I'm making is that that's not accepted.
again, and I apologise, Your Honour has said we're repeating the point, but we have a very clear understanding of the difference between someone being inactive, no longer an active member of the congregation, and someone who takes a decision to disassociate. That's clear to us, but we agree.
la economía tiene que crecer, porque si no crece es una tragedia. Inventamos una montaña de consumo superfluo y hay que tirar y vivir comprando y tirando. Y lo que estamos gastando es tiempo de vida. Porque cuando yo compro algo, o tú, no lo compras con plata, lo compras con el tiempo de vida que tuviste que gastar para tener esa plata. Pero con esta diferencia, la única cosa que no se puede comprar es la vida. La vida se gana. Y es miserable gastar la vida para perder libertad.
Necesitamos sentirnos llenos, llenos. Lo bueno se nos escapa en cualquier momento. Tienes que intentar luchar por seguir tus sueños, sueños. Sin olvidar mantener los pies en el suelo. Destapa tu corazón y no tengas miedo, miedo. Sin alterar el pulso de tus sentimientos. No jures para siempre, siempre es mucho tiempo que lo grande